Hey, friends, I'm Otis Gibbs, and this is my buddy John Lomax III. He's a true legend, and he's going to tell you the story behind this iconic photograph that he took of Townes Van Zandt and Lightnin Hopkins.
There were 3 or 4 variants on that picture, and it's the only picture I've ever seen of Townes with Lightnin Hopkins, who was one of his 3 major influences, the other being Hank Williams and Bob Dylan. So that was in 70, probably 70, 71 maybe, and he at the time lived with his first wife a block from my house, just out of weirdness. I had met him in Austin in the mid-'60s, and it was strange to come home and there he was around the corner, but he came over and Lightnin was there to see my dad because they were working together. My dad actually managed him for 10 years and booked him and would go and find him and take him on tours and whatnot, or at least get him set up to go to the local shows. But he put him on a lot of folklore society shows, Houston Folklore Society, that he founded with some other men in 1951, which is still going. Now, it's now the Houston Folklore and Music Society instead of just the Houston Folk Society, but it's the same general thing. So he and Lightnin and his wife came by, and I'm not sure. There's other people in some of the other shots, one of which is my ex-wife, who was my wife then, and another was Daryl Harris, who was a friend of Townes. And I don't really know why all these people converged at that time, but I did realize I better take some pictures. So I shot like 4 pictures or something, and that was it. Lightnin went off to do whatever with my dad, and Townes went off, and that was that. And
Just a chance encounter.
yeah, pretty much, yeah. But at least I had the sense to grab a camera and save it, because this was 50 years ago, and that, like I say, it's the only picture I've ever seen of the 2 of them together, and there's no picture of Townes and Dylan that I'm aware of, and certainly not with Hank. My dad was sort of the de facto booking agent. He was the only contact that anyone had to get something to Lightnin, but Lightnin didn't have a phone. So my dad would have to get in the car and ride over to his house, and if he was lucky, Lightnin would be at home, but he wasn't exactly what you'd call a homebody. So this would mean my dad would have to go and start asking around at various places where Lightnin might be hanging out, drinking and gambling. And sometimes that would, he'd find him right away. Other times it would take a few hours to track him down, and it would be, oh yeah, he was just here and he went down to Smiley's down the way, And so he'd troop over there. Oh, you just missed him. He went to Fred's in the garage. They're gambling over there. So he would find him and then lay it out for him what he'd been asked, about the gig and whatnot, and get an answer and go back and call the people. But it's kind of like, I don't know why he didn't just say, look, get a phone, I'll pay for it. But that was the story, and he went on several tours with him, and my dad's job really was, A, get Lightnin to the gig, B, open the show. Just he would sing folk songs a cappella, just get up and sing them. He said, well, that was the way it was when his father, he'd say, well, my dad recorded them, and they weren't sitting around with guitars on horseback. They were singing cowboy songs. So he, he would get up and sing, and then bring on Lightnin, introduce Lightnin, and then get out of the way. Lightnin come up and do the show, and then my dad would collect the money. And most importantly, then make sure that most of it got back to Lightnin's wife, because left to his own devices, Lightnin would start drinking and gambling and might not get home with anything. took him on his first plane ride and out to California. They did the Ash Grove, and I think they did something at University of California, Berkeley, and came on home. But it was quite an adventure. Well, he had to have seen him at some point or another, I would think, because Lightnin was playing in Houston a lot in these various blues clubs, and he did the Folklore Society shows. And I don't think my dad ever presented Townes at the folklore shows, because I don't think Townes had really gotten to that point yet where he was good enough to get up there with people like Lightnin and hold his own. I know Guy Clark eventually got on some of, no, he didn't get on any of the folk shows either. He was just starting too. This was, we're thinking in late 50s, early 60s, and neither had quite gotten their chops up enough to be on these shows, but they could very well have come. And I know Guy had seen my dad perform, because he talks about seeing him do one of the Lead Belly song where he was chopping wood and all, and like my dad would sing the song, and then each verse, whack, and he'd haul a big log out on stage. And he'd have an axe, not one of these silly hatchets, full-on axe, whack! Take this hammer, whack! And pieces of wood would fly all over the place. Take it in the camp, and whack! So I know Guy was just blown away. He told me a couple of times. And, pieces of wood this big would be flying off at people in the front row. But that was authentic. It was a work song, by golly. And so I don't know, but Townes had a lot of opportunities, and he must have seen him because he was such a huge influence.
When did that photo start circulating?
It didn't start circulating until maybe 5-10 years ago, when I think my son posted it on Facebook, and then it's everywhere now. I mean, you see it half the time. I don't get credit. Of course, I never made a nickel off of it. But, I'm just happy that I did it and documented that moment. And like I say, there were at least 2 and maybe 3 different shots, and I can't find my negatives, and I don't even know where the other shots are, but I don't think people know who took it, and if they do, they don't know how to find me or whatever. But no one has called me up and said we want to use that picture, which is kind of surprising, but fine. I'd like to get some money someday for it. But at least pay for the film and developing.
You can feel the warmth in that photo between the one photo that we're talking about here. Mm-hmm. You can feel the warmth between the people involved. Even though Townes is on one side of the photo and Lightnin is on the other, they feel connected to me.
Yeah, and my mom was there too, which, she was such a great, gracious sort of enfolding person who would make everyone feel good. And I don't know then if Townes had ever even met Lightnin or anything. I just realized when they were both there, let me get my camera.
If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, click the like button and subscribe to my channel, and tell me what your favorite Townes Van Zandt or Lightnin Hopkins song is, and I'll see you somewhere down the road. Much love to you.